Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using code Hawkeye and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and the best daily promotions in the business. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matters more than ever. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with the king of sportsbooks today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly and offer resources to help you make appropriate choices. BetMGM.com for T's and C's. 21 plus to wager. Iowa only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Not all bread is created equal. And if you like yours soft, fluffy, moist, and delicious, then Hero Bread and Buns should be your first choice. But Hero Bread isn't just about taste and texture. It's high in fiber with ultra-low net carbs with 0 grams of sugar. Order today at hero.co and use the code AH10 to get 10% off your first purchase. That's AH10 at hero.co, HERO.co for 10% off your first purchase.
This is
Make It Plain.
MIP
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make It Plain.
Get woke.
Welcome back, folks. Tony Browder totally with us throughout this African American History Month, and we're so honored. Just a few more days. As we said before, it is the shortest month of the year, but it's a reminder month. We should be doing this 365 days a year. Matter of fact, Tony alluded to this earlier. I talk to friends all the time. I'm in a book club. Okay. See, I'm not going to just let that pass no more. People say that to me, and I was like, okay, that's nice. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. That's it. I'm not letting it pass no more. If you're in a book club, then you ought to also at some point be in a book club that is reading books like Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. Matter of fact, Tony, remind me.
The ISIS papers.
Or the ISIS papers. Well, that's what I want to do. Before we get out of here for the month, we might need to dedicate at least a portion of a whole segment. We won't do it right now. Give you a time to prepare it. People always ask me, what can I read, brother? Give me a bibliography.
I got it already. It's already in the bin. Yeah, I got it. I can share it with you. We can do that whenever you're ready.
Okay, so folks, stay tuned for that. And is there also a bibliography on the website as well?
Not on the website. That's a separate package of information that I send to people who want it. We tell you what books to read, the order in which the books should be read, and how those book reading sessions should be conducted in order to get the desired outcome.
We'll get to that, folks, by the end of the month. I'm going to do like they do on television. I'm going to tease it out.
There you go.
So y'all stay tuned. You have to listen for the rest of the month. And we just got a few more days left. We can, y'all can stand it. Let's do it. Hopefully we won't go back to self-hatred in March, but just hold on a little while longer and get all of this information. Now, at the risk of bringing forth more controversy. Before I do that, though, I just want to go back. Lastly, we were talking before yesterday. We started talking about the imagery at the Vatican. Man, I'm gonna tell you, it doesn't strike even the people in the Catholic Church how unoriginal it is to wear a mitre. I mean, they don't see what that looks like. Like, we ain't smart enough to see what that is worn on the bishop and the Pope's head. And you mentioned the crook and the flail.
Yes.
I mean, do they just really, or do they know we're going to get it at some point, but they know they have to wear that. They don't have a choice but to wear that. I mean, what is it?
It's look, symbols have power, and those people who control others will use certain symbols in order to draw power to them, to hold on to their power, and to hold the objects of their control and domination under the spell of the power associated with the costumes and all the imagery that is associated with it. It's psychology to a large extent.
But clearly, folks, I think what we have to understand, they get and have reverence for aspects of our culture that we don't.
But we don't know that it's ours. See, that's the thing.
Know that, right?
Taking elements of our history and culture, separated it from us, and presented it to the world as their own creation. So because we have not done our homework, we can't go beyond the false image that they have projected to us as the only legitimate way of worshiping God or being intelligent or what have you. We've got to do our homework because, as Clark said, John Henry Clark often says, powerful people will never teach powerless people how to take power away from them.
Something else interesting you said, Tony, early on. You said it several times since we've been talking this month, and we really appreciate the generosity of your time. That the imagery, which many would call mythology, around much of what we've learned and what was taught back then, was to make it less complicated for people to be able to understand. Okay. Isn't it interesting that Kemetic civilization saw what it was doing as being uncomplicated? Mm-hmm. And the oppression of our minds, okay, makes today, and our disconnection from it, makes what they meant to be uncomplicated complicated to us. Mm-hmm. Because we've been so far removed from it.
Exactly. And we've been taught to interpret everything through a European lens, which disconnects us from our direct ancestral lines of communication. Let me ask you a question to build on that point, brother. You're familiar with the Star Wars films, right? I think there's been 9 Star Wars films.
That's right. 9.
Every Star Wars movie begins the same way. Do you recall what the generic opening of a Star Wars film is?
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Okay, now what does that mean? Now, imagine this. George Lucas was inspired to change his major in college from philosophy to filmmaking after he read the works of the philosopher Joseph Campbell and learned of the power of myth. So in all of these Star Wars films, they start off the exact same way. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Then you see a spaceship come into the frame of the camera, and then you see robots. You see all of this high-tech technology. But if you remember the opening line, a long time ago, that means this is the past. In the galaxy far, far away, you're far removed from all of this. So that is a psychological means of separating the viewer from the present moment so that you will allow your subconscious to internalize all of these stories. See, that's the power of myth. That's the psychology of myth making and storytelling, man, to get into people's psyche, get them to drop their guard and become receptive on a subconscious level to these images, to these icons that have been the foundation of your life for all of your life, as long as people have walked the earth. That's the power of this information.
More MIP after this message. And since you brought Star Wars back up, just to go back for a second, in the last episode, we talked about the Asarian drama in so many ways, and you mentioned Star Wars. You kind of laid out the way it appears in Black Panther, but just in terms of Star Wars, it's the same story. Mm-hmm. Luke Skywalker, a hero, and his father.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
correct. Now, I mean, it's the same layout.
Yeah, just modified slightly to market to a different audience, but it's the Asarian drama to the T.
We spoke about the Eye of Jehudi, the Eye of Heru, but does the concept of the third eye and that origination reside within Kemet as well?
Yes, it does. And I was first introduced to this concept by our late ancestor, Dr. Richard King, who was a psychiatrist. And Richard King and Francis Welsing are best known to our community for conversations about melanin, right? Richard King, in an article in a publication called Uraeus, the Journal of Unconscious Light, did a multi-part series on the third eye. The third eye is the eye of inner vision, the eye of insight. So the third eye in ancient Kemet was represented by the cobra at the forehead of the crown of the king. The cobra symbolized someone with enhanced senses who could hear what was not said, who could see what was not visible. And it represents all of the attributes of what people in the East refer to as the third eye, the eye of inner vision, the spirit eye, the soul eye. So all of these traditions, man, come out of Africa, and they speak to the fact that we are physical beings, we are mental beings, and we are spiritual beings. But the physical and mental aspect of our beingness is all mitigated by spirit, which is eternal.
Now, I may be wrong about this, but I think I have been in lectures with you before where you went even further on the third eye concept and its relationship to melanin and a particular gland.
Right. Yes. The pineal gland.
See, I pay attention, y'all. I pay attention. I need to get a gold star from the teacher for that. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, you get two, brother. One for each eye. So the pineal gland is regarded in metaphysical circles as the eye of inner vision. And there's a reference in the Bible to Joseph and the latter going to a place called Pineal, where he saw God face to face. And that is climbing the ladder to your higher consciousness, where you tap into that spiritual dimension and communicate directly with the creator, right? So you know as well as I do, Earth, Wind, and Fire is one of my favorite groups. So one of their songs, That's the Way of the World, Hearts of Fire, create love, desire to take you higher to your place on the throne. It's about the so-called chakras, energy centers, or spiritual centers that exist within the body. We spoke earlier in a couple of podcasts back about the heart, and the heart being the seat of the soul. So in that song, Hearts of Fire create love, desire. So it's about bringing your energy to the heart chakra, right? And allow everything that flows to you to flow through the heart, to flow through the soul, so that you can reach your place on the crown chakra, on the throne, which is where you come face to face with God. So these stories, brother, these films are telling us our history and culture and spiritual traditions. We just have to have the background knowledge to know how to interpret them properly.
When my grandmother used to pray, and she was, obviously the one that from whom I learned, my first teacher of spirituality.
Yes.
Whenever she prayed, Tony Browder, some people fold their hands or they drop their head. My grandmother would always pray. She would take these two fingers and hold right here at this point, right at the very top of the bridge of her nose, where her forehead meets the extension, and she would hold it right there and pray. And I always thought that was interesting, that she would hold that and just slightly squeeze it. Well, folks, if you do that at home, right where the forehead meets the nose, the extension of the nose, it's a sensation that you get when you hold that. And so as I learned more about the third eye and even that gland, I was like, well, I wonder if she was, if that was some type of activation or energy.
Exactly. Stimulating that third eye so that God could hear her prayers and respond to her directly. You mentioned grandmother. My grandmother, I was firstborn grandchild. So yes, I was spoiled by my grandparents. And I have my sense of spirituality from my grandmother. And she used to always say, oh, a little birdie told me. Ask her something. Oh, a little birdie told me. And I thought that was something cute, but I never really understood it until I started delving into Kemetic traditions. The little birdie that my grandmother was referring to was the Ba, was the soul which flies into the tomb. It is represented by a bird with the head of the deceased person. That's the Ba. That's the Ba that moves from the physical world to fly into heaven to communicate with the ancestors and bring messages back to you in the physical world. So I realize now that my grandmother had internalized some of these traditions that were passed on to her by her parents, by her grandparents, but she didn't have the context to really understand how it all fits together. Along the same line, my grandmother had seven children, 6 girls and one son. And her daughters would often refer to each other as heifer, you heifer, right? And I heard that term. I didn't understand what it meant other than the fact that a heifer is a female cow. Well, now that I have a better understanding of Kemetic history and culture, heifer is derived from the word Hathor. Hathor was known in Kemet as Het Heru. She is the wife of Heru. She represents the divine house, right? So in Kemet, another image for Het Heru or females is a cow. Why? Because a cow has multiple breasts. Cow feeds her children. A cow feeds her nation, right? So these terms that we use sometimes to insult each other are derived from terms that have profound spiritual significance, but we have lost our connection with our history and culture and our spirit. So we don't know how to use these words to empower ourselves.
More MIP after this message. Right. Like Hotep. Lost
Like
the connection.
Hotep, exactly.
But that's powerful. But now lastly, on that pineal gland, it seems I also remember you discussing a specific biological, physiological function that has to do with us and that third eye.
Good memory, brother. Good memory. So I referenced in a previous podcast that the word hormones is derived from the word Hermes, and Hermes was a messenger of the gods. So the pineal gland is the gland that is responsible for secreting many of the hormones. All right. So these hormones are chemical messages that are secreted in the body that give your body specific instructions to turn on or turn off certain functions that influence your body. So more specifically, with regards to melanin, that it was discovered during the Vietnam War when the military would perform autopsies on all of the corpses of all of the soldiers who were killed before they were brought back to the States. And what they discovered was that the pineal gland was a small calcified gland within the bodies of 78 to 80% of all the white soldiers that they performed autopsies on. And because of the fact that there was an exceedingly high percentage of African-American soldiers fighting in the Vietnam War, they had an opportunity to perform autopsies on a large number of Black bodies. And what they found in 70 to 80% of these Black bodies, the pineal gland was a large fleshy organ about the size of your thumb that was functioning in the bodies of Black people. So it's calcified in white folk. It's referred to as a vestigial organ, an organ that is calcified, turned to stone, and serves no purpose in the bodies of white folk. In the bodies of African people, it is an active and functioning entity that is our direct line of communication with God. That's why Black folk can take white folks' religion, but we'll have a different relationship with God than white folk. We get the spirit because we are designed, our bodies. And this has nothing to do with race. This has nothing to do with superiority or inferiority. This has to do with basic physiological differences that exist within certain segments of the population. African people, if you think about this as well, the sun is the source of life, the source of creation here on the planet. And that plants are heliotropic, means that plants follow the sun, right? Plants that bud, like a lotus, for example, will open up when the sun comes out, and it will close up when the sun sets. Heliotropic plants that respond to the electromagnetic energy of the sun. So the hair of Black folk is the only hair of any people that grows up toward the sun. Everybody else's hair grows flat, grows down. So if in fact there were a people, a mighty, mighty people, children of the sun, it's us.
Amen to that. There's a section in the book about hair, Nile Valley Contribution Civilization. Folks, get the book everywhere. Next time we together, we're going to talk about the hair piece even more. So stay tuned for that. And folks, there's much more. Tony and I could do this every day from now on, but we're just going to do it this month, and then there'll be other opportunities. I hope that this is an introduction for those of you who want to learn more about ourselves. And again, I'm even my relatives, I'm in a book club. Okay, rather than being in a book club reading how Stella got her groove back, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Let's have a book club, how Black people, how we got our ancestry back. I mean, we just need to challenge ourselves to that, especially now with the assault. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't go to sleep on this. And right now, there is no organized resistance to the assault on the basic historical education that our children need in the school system. We ain't even gotten to the point of the type of African-centered education that Tony has bestowed us with. But I'm just talking about even the basic stuff, the fundamental elementary stuff that goes with Black history is under attack, and we are not doing anything about it. But some folk have been calling me, folks. They've been saying we got to do something. So stay tuned. Something's about to happen.
Absolutely. But
we don't even need to wait on that. We need to have our own movement. Get that timeline if you've not gotten it already at IKG-info.com. Have that in your home. You know, when it really starts some trouble, take it to work, put it up in the workplace, in the conference room. This is, this is to me really not just an intellectual exercise.
Absolutely. This is life, brother. This is life or death.
Yeah.
Life or death.
So this is what it's all about. IKG-info.com. Anthony Browder is a treasure, a cultural treasure to our people. Ain't too many Anthony Browders around who are from literally the Dr. Clarks and Dr. Benz and others. My role throughout those years, and we lifted up the name some time ago, Listerville Middleton, or lift him up again. Listerville Middleton made a lot of this knowledge available to us. Absolutely. Via his television show in South Carolina. I come later than that, and it just was very natural to be on the air to have these conversations. I could have these conversations on a daily show every day. But unfortunately, there aren't as many Dr. Clarks, Dr. Benz around, Tony Browder's. So again, folks, introduce this to our young people so that they can also pick up the mantle. All right. And continue these conversations, continue this research, continue this knowledge, and continue this struggle toward the truth, because that is ultimately the source of our liberation. Once again, thank you, brother. We'll talk tomorrow.
Looking forward to it, brother. Thank you so much.
IKG-info.com. Hotel. Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. Please remember to listen, like, and wherever you get your podcasts, please give the show a 5-star rating. And please do spread the word. Let's all continue to pray for each other during this pandemic and this police-demic. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.